Happy Tuesday, knitters! I'm Louise from Wildflower Wool, and welcome back to my channel. This is a brand new episode of New Start Monday Knits. Even though I'm filming on Tuesday, the planning part of this video did actually happen on Monday. So I'm here every week showing you what I am casting on for a brand new knitting project that I'm going to work on for this upcoming week. I have a considerable stash to work through, and my plan is, what will I say, 90% of the time to be working from my stash. I've learned never to say never, that I am not going to buy yarn because I know I cannot live up to that. So hopefully most of the time I'll be working from stash, and this week I am working from my stash. What will I show you first? Well, actually I showed you this 2 weeks ago, I think. I have this ball. I have a few balls of this marble. Get my needle out of here. I have a few balls of this marble yarn. This was the yarn that I bought for my daughter's sweater. I hate to say even how many years ago. 6 maybe? I'm not sure. Trying to think of what house I lived in, and I think I was living here, so I think it was probably about 6 years ago. Anyways, it's been a while. I think it's time it was actually knit. But like I said before, she doesn't particularly like this color. She wanted black, and all they had was blue. So I may just make this for myself. So I did start a little bit, not the actual sweater, but I have the beginnings of a fantastic gauge swatch. And I know if any of you listen to me, if you have listened here on this channel, if you've watched me before, or if you've watched on the Fiber Friends, you know that I am a stickler for gauge. Gauge swatches are one of my most favorite things. Not only do they give you the best chance of getting your garment to fit, you also get a sneak preview of what your knitted fabric is going to look like. And I always like to have at least 2 needle sizes to choose from, because I always feel I started knitting with this. This was a 6mm needle. This is chunky yarn. I knit loose, so typically I always have to go with smaller needle size, but I thought I would try a 6. And I thought, yeah, this is not too bad. I sometimes think I tend to knit my sweaters a little bit tight, and so I thought I'm going to try to knit this a little looser, a little drapier. And I thought, I kind of like this. I like this. It feels soft. It feels light. I'm liking it. I went down to 5.5mm. You can see I did a purl ridge here just so I'd be able to see the difference. And I think you can see even just by looking at it. Obviously, the smaller needle does look a little tighter, and I think I am happier with that. And I don't think I would have known that if I hadn't actually compared the two side by side. One little test you can do for sweater knitting. You want sweaters to be knit a little bit firmer gauge than you would a shawl, and you can kind of do the poke test. If you can get your finger, see if I can try and do this backwards here. See how I can almost poke my pinky finger? Maybe if I even wiggled. Look at that. I can get my finger right through there. That's a sign. This might be good for a shawl, but it's a little bit loose for a sweater. Up here in the 5.5, I cannot wiggle my finger. Even though I'm really trying, I can't. It's tighter. So that is what I want. I'm going to go with 5.5. I'm going to measure my gauge. This sweater is going to be knit using my gauge to garment process, where I'm going to take my measurements, and then I'm going to work with the gauge that I'm getting on the needle size that produces the fabric that I like, the look and feel of the best. And in this case, it's going to be the 5.5mm. So because I'm not working from a pre-written pattern, I don't have to get an exact number of stitches to the inch, because I'm not comparing it to a pattern. I'm working in the reverse. I'm getting the gauge I like. I'm going to do some math. I'm going to take my gauge, multiply it by my measurements, and that's the numbers. I'm going to fill in my recipe. I have like a blank sweater recipe, and I'm going to fill in my numbers based on my gauge. next time you see this, it is going to be the start of a sweater, which I'm super excited about because that was one of my goals this year, was to always have a sweater on my needles this year, along with a dishcloth. Now, I'm going to show you this coming Friday, the last Friday of the month. I am still planning on doing a finished Friday. And I'm hoping I'm going to have more than 4 dishcloths. So the last Friday of the month, I'm going to come back in and show you after all these new starts, which should be, I'm thinking 2 a week. One's going to be dishcloth and one is going to be another item. At the last Friday of the month, I'm going to come back and show you. I'll have 4 dishcloths because you know I'm doing the Yarn Hoarder Dishcloth Challenge. So I better have 4 dishcloths knit by the end of the month or I'm going to be behind schedule. And as of January, as of today, I am on track, guys. I am so proud of myself. This is dishcloth number 4. So I showed you the yarn last week for this. The yellow is, I love this cotton, Hobby Lobby dishcloth cotton. And the colorway is Sunshine. And this gray. You have seen this gray show up every week since the beginning of January. This is the Dishy colorway Ash. Remember how I said, if, you know, next time I order Dishy, I would definitely get Ash again? Well, it's a good job I like it so much because guess what? I had those 2 little bitty balls left over and I thought, I'm going to be smart. I'm going to stripe this. I'm going to start with yellow because I thought I was actually afraid I was going to run out of the gray. And I thought I'm going to be doing nice stripes. I'm going to run out of gray. Then I'll just have to finish it with yellow and that would look kind of odd. Haha, wrong. Because I'm guessing you guys can figure what I'm going to say. I still have some left. I cannot put this ball band into my finished ball band collection that I'm doing for this year because I still have this left. So this is going to wait. I'm done with this for this week. I'm going to wait till next week. I have a bunch of little balls like this at Dishcloth Cotton upstairs. I've got them in a container. I'll bring them down next week and I will show them to you. I'm going to weigh them and see what the yardage is. And then I'm going to put that into my Ravelry stash. And then I'm going to take this last little bit and I'm going to stripe it in with just some random colors. And I'm going to knit every last centimeter of this yarn next week. But I got dishcloth number 4 done. So this again was granite stitch. The same as I had done last week. Last week I did it in the, I think I have it here. If you haven't watched last week's yet, I'll show you. This is what last week's was. More ash, Dishy ash. This is all granite stitch, a 4-row repeat. If you go back to last week's video in the drop down box, I have wrote out what the pattern was, but I'll tell you again. It was a row of knit, a row of purl, work knit 2s together all the way across the row, turn it around. The next row, you work an increase, a knit front and back, every stitch, knit front and back, knit front and back, knit front and back, all the way across the row. And it gives you this really pretty stitch. So what I did with this one, every 4 rows, I just switched my colors. So there's 4 rows. There, my yellow, a knit, a purl, a decrease row, an increase row, and I just repeated. And I carried my yarn up the edge. So on the back side, it's not real pretty. I wouldn't want that to be the edge of a scarf that is going to be visible. But on the dishcloth, nah, I wasn't going to cut and join all the way up. So I just carried it. Every two rows, I caught the color that was not being worked and I carried it up the side. And I really like this. At first I started striping it and I thought, oh, I don't like that yellow and gray. I thought the shades are just too off. The colors are too off. But you know, the more I got going, I really kind of like it. And it does look like a bumblebee. And yeah, so I guess there you go. That's just proof, you know, don't judge your project too quickly. I think sometimes when you're just getting a pattern started, the first few rows, it doesn't show it off to the best advantage. So if you just keep going, hopefully, fingers crossed, it turns out all right. And in this case, it did. I actually really like this, and I would do this granite stitch striped again in another pattern. So there's my dishcloth. So my 2 new starts. Oh, actually, I have one other project on the go. I'll just give you an update on this. I showed you my European road trip shawl that I started last week. 2 friends and I both started this project, and it's not a competition, so I have no idea. That was just bothering me. Where my friends are on this. I don't know if they've been knitting a lot on it. I have no idea, but I'm quite happy with my progress. I didn't go back and look at last week's video, but I know this had to be considerably smaller than it is now because I've knit quite a bit of this. Just pick it up and I try to do about 4 rows at a time, and then I set it aside and work on something else. Right now I'm still working on the increases, so every row I'm increasing 1 stitch. And I've got to be close to 100 stitches on here now. The rows are starting to feel like they're getting longer. I think last week I probably said the same thing because they were starting to feel like they were getting longer. Now they're starting to feel even longer. And I still have some more increases to go. But this is out of my Patons stretch sock yarn, and I love this. One of the comments last week said, oh my gosh, you are knitting with that yarn. I gave that stuff away. And I like it. And so when I answered back to the comment, I kind of laughed. You probably said, LOL. You were probably in the majority because I don't think this was on the market very long, and then they discontinued it. So most people must have felt the same way that you did and didn't care for it. But I like it. I love how it feels. It's got some cotton in it. I like it. So that is going well. This is not going to be done anytime soon because I'm knitting at least 5 balls, maybe 6 balls in this shawl. So I'm just going to putter away at it. My 2 new starts for this week. Another dishcloth. So as I said earlier, I didn't record this last night. I was planning to, but I wasn't feeling all that well when I got home from work. And I was trying to start my new dishcloth. I'm just going to keep working with this I Love This Cotton Sunshine colorway and just do 1 solid color, all yellow. It's the middle of winter. I think we need a little sunshine. And I picked the bee stitch. I thought the bee stitch is going to be, it's simple and easy. I love how it looks. It's another one of my favorite patterns. It's a 4-row repeat again. Easy to memorize. So it should be easy to memorize. That's what I should say. I started this 3 times last night, and I don't even know what it, every time I messed it up, I'd knit, and I'd look at it, and I'm like, this is not looking how it's supposed to. So I think the first time I had cast on the wrong number of stitches because I was going for an even number of stitches plus 1 because I was going to stagger the pattern, and I think I must have miscounted. Then I pulled it out, restarted again, and I started going, and I was sure I had the right stitch count to start with. And I mucked the pattern up again. And I think it was because I was on 1 row, I was supposed to knit 1, then start the pattern. And then on the next pattern row, knit 2 and start the pattern so I could offset it. I don't know if I just knit 1 bow time. I don't know what I did. Anyways, I pulled it out and I restarted it again. And right around that time was when I decided that I was just too tired to actually film this video. And after my 3rd try on this and messing it up, I shut the light out and went to bed. So I still haven't fixed it. It is still on the needles. But what I think I realized I don't know. You know what? I think maybe, I don't know what I've done. Anyways, I'm going to pull this out because I've lost a couple stitches on here anyways. So this is, I'm going to count this as my gauge swatch. This was my test, my trial. So surely goodness, when I try this again, it should actually work. So I'm just going to restart. I'm going to pull all this out, wind it up, and I'm going to start again. But this is going to be B-stitch dishcloth. So once I actually get the pattern going properly, I will show you a picture of what it looks like. It's a textured stitch. It's fun. It's easy. Should be easy. It is a 4-row repeat. It is a knit one below. So the idea of the pattern is you knit a row. The next row, you knit one below. You knit one below. You knit another row. You start off, you knit 2 stitches. Then you start knitting below. So you're always, so it's kind of like seed stitch in a way. So you're always, when you have a regular knit stitch, you're knitting below, like you're doing the opposite, right? Anyways, what I kept doing last night was doing the same. I'd have a knit below stitch and I was knitting below into a knit below. And I'm like, no, that's not right. Anyways, trust me, if you haven't knit it before, just wait. You are going to love it when I actually get it going. And I shouldn't be scaring you off because it's not that hard. It was just, shouldn't have been knitting, obviously, last night. So my last thing to show you is a ball of yarn I pulled off my shelf upstairs. This is a ball of yarn that, honestly, I don't remember where it came from. And most of my yarn, I do remember where it came from, where I bought it, if it was gifted to me, if I bought it on a trip, if it was a fiber festival. And this one, I don't exactly remember buying, and it's not exactly my colors. So I'm wondering if I got this in a yarn swap. I really don't remember. Anyways, dynamic yarn, and it's beautiful. It's lovely. Even though it's not one that I would necessarily buy for myself, I love the colors. The blue and the green is fantastic. I'm not even sure if this dyer is still dyeing or not. I'm not sure how long it's been in my stash. It's 400 yards, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, which means this could be socks. I was thinking of a shawl. No, I am thinking of a shawl. Yeah, I don't think that, no, I don't see this being socks. Do you guys, does your yarn talk to you? Please tell me it does, because I don't want to be the only one. And this is saying a shawl. It is saying a hitchhiker is what I'm thinking. Has anybody else knit a hitchhiker? This was a pattern that was really popular 8 or 10 years ago. My gosh, could it be that long ago? I suppose it could be. The designer is Martina Baum. What else? She's done a few patterns that I can't think of off the top of my head, but she is a fantastic designer. And hitchhiker, I have one here. Hold on, I have to grab it. Sorry, it fell off my lap. I knit this. Oh my gosh, look at this. This is more, you guys are not going to be shocked to hear this. This is more Patton's stretchy sock yarn. I told you I loved it. I have no idea what this colorway is, but I know I have at least one more ball of this in my stash, maybe 2. If I only have one, it'll be little shorty socks. I knit this. You know, I can remember knitting this. I know I was knitting this in the beach, at the beach, quite a few summers ago. And I also remember working this. Eric and I went to, at the time, my son was really interested in dogs and he loved going to dogs. And we went to a summer festival where these dogs, this local dog group was performing. I don't know much about dog shows, but they were obstacle course. That's what they were doing. They were doing the obstacle course. Anyways, I just remember being hotter than heck, and Eric and I sitting outside watching these dogs. The things you do for your kids, right? And I remember I had a little piece of paper with the pattern on it, trying to keep track. Isn't that funny? The things that you remember when you look at a piece of knitting, what memories it brings back. Anyways, I love this pattern. You start at the tip and you work outwise. Yeah, I'm just thinking which way, I don't know which way end I started at. Anyways, it does not matter. But it's got these fun points on it. It's one, I'm pretty sure this is just one skein. I should weigh it just to make sure. Anyways, I think that is what I'm going to do with this. I think so. As long as this is one skein, which I'm sure it is just one skein. Yes, okay. This is why I'm second guessing myself. Because I'm thinking, I'm thinking on one hand, I'm thinking the pattern is one skein, but I'm thinking, I'm sure I joined a ball of yarn. This sock yarn, the stretch sock yarn, is in 50-gram balls, so I would have used 2 50-gram balls. That's making sense. Okay. See, as you can tell, I don't pre-think these. I sit down, I have a gist of what I'm going to talk to you guys about. I turn the camera on and I talk. Maybe I should rethink that and plan this out a little bit more. But anyways, this is me unedited. Anyway, isn't this fantastic? If you haven't found or haven't knit this, if it's not in your Ravelry queue, I would highly suggest you go grab it because it is really fun. So that is what this is going to turn into. I haven't found my needles yet. I'll have to take a look for those and I'm going to cast on. So I think that is it, guys. So if you want to leave me a comment below, if you've knit a hitchhiker, how much you love it. Have you tried the stretch sock yarn? I'd be curious to know if I'm the only one who likes this yarn. Maybe that's why I have so much of it, because I definitely like it. And I know I have a sweater upstairs that I'll have to show you in one of these videos. It is something I'm going to pull out for Guild because it is not finished. It is like 90% finished. And again, I probably started it about 10 years ago. And it's knit in a different colorway, but it is stretch sock yarn too because I love it. So I would like to know, has anybody else knit with this yarn? Do you have any in your stash? Surely I can't be the only one who loves it. And I think that is just pretty much all I wanted to share with you guys. I'm going to get this wound up and started. I'm going to get my dishcloth back on track because this is going to be dishcloth number 5. If anybody wants to join in the Yarn Hoarders Dishcloth Challenge, it's like the biggest long hashtag on Instagram. You can post your pictures there and tag hashtag 2020 Yarn Hoarder Dishcloth Challenge. And then that way Amber from the Yarn Hoarder, she will get to see your dishcloths. And I hope you knit along with me. I am really aiming for 52 and I cannot tell you how excited I am that I already have 4 done this year, because last year I tried this and I petered out right about now or maybe a week ago. So I think I have already surpassed my attempt from last year. So I'm already at a personal best, which I am pretty happy about that. So guys, if you enjoy visiting with me here, just listening to me chat about what my goals are, what I'm working on, hit that subscribe button and leave me a comment down below. If you start something this week over on Instagram, tag me, Wildflower Wool, and you can use the hashtag newstartmondayknits. And then that way I can follow the hashtag and I can comment and check and see what you guys are all starting this week. All right, guys, I will be back on Friday to show you some finishes and to talk a little bit more about how I have decided to track the number of meters that I'm knitting this year. You guys all left me some comments below here on YouTube, over on Instagram, and at Wildflower Wool's Facebook page, and on Ravelry. I left some comments everywhere, just some questions asking for people's input. And we'll talk about that on Friday, what I've decided to do. And thanks for your comments, guys. I love hearing from you. So I will chat to you in the comments, and I will see you on Friday. Happy knitting, everybody.